She went on to have a career in human services, bought her own home in Quincy, and now works for a company, Ladybug Pest Control, that supports Father Bill's in Main Spring. They sponsored our floral arrangements actually tonight. In recent years, she has publicly advocated for our mission and for the Housing Resource Center. Jennifer, you demonstrate a great deal of humility and gratitude. Thank you for serving as a source of hope and inspiration, not only for the people that come to our doors, but also for our staff and our supporters. With that, please welcome Jennifer Payne.
Wow, thank you so much for that warm welcome. Thank you, John. Wow, look at this crowd. Very different being up here. Anyways, it's very nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to share a few words. I'm very honored and extremely humbled to be part of this reception tonight. It's interesting, the words that I jotted down that I'm going to say tonight are very similar to what John said, so this is a very nice segue. I arrived at Father Bill's in 1993, a couple days before Christmas. Father Bill's, I guess you could say, was my Christmas miracle. I arrived here with the clothes on my back and a few belongings in a shopping bag. A friend told me about Father Bill's. I had no idea about shelter. When I had nowhere to go, I thought I was going to be sleeping in the bushes. I just had no idea. When I arrived here in 1993, I was newly sober, about 7 or 8 months, and I'm not going to give you my drunk-a-log, but I will tell you that this year, on July 28th, I celebrated 30 years sober. Thank you. I think anybody going into shelter will tell you that's no easy feat to go into a shelter newly sober and stay sober, so that says a lot about Father Bill's and the support that they gave me at that time. The other thing I did want to mention is that the friend who told me about Father Bill's, he's been my husband for 29 years, so there's that too, so that's cool. And he also has a career in human services. But anyway, so back to the story. So I arrived at Father Bill's around Christmas time, and it was simple. I got a job, I saved my money, and I moved out. End of story. Simple, right? Maybe not so much. I want to deconstruct these 3 simple statements. Probably the one with the most facets to it is I got a job. Everybody in this room has done that before, and I work at Ladybug now, and what's that old expression? Well, I was looking for a job when I found this one, right? So we've all done that, but I was looking for a job and I didn't have interview clothing. I was looking for a job, and every day I had to take a Walmart bag with my underwear and toothbrush in it out the door with me. I was looking for a job, and certainly nobody had cell phones back then, so the technology is a little different, but there was no place for somebody to call me if they were interested in me and leave me a message or talk to me. So yeah, I got a job, and with the help of Father Bill's staff, I got interview clothing. I was able to leave my bags in. They knew I was looking for work. And one of the most important things, again, the technology certainly has changed. Well, back then, nobody had cell phones. Father Bill's had a phone in the lobby, and if you were looking for work, you would get your own phone number, and you would record a message. Thank you for calling Jennifer, please leave a message, and I'll get back to you. So at the lowest point in my life when I was looking for work, I was provided with everything I needed to go out into Quincy and apply for a job, and I ended up getting hired at a local restaurant that if I mentioned it, you would definitely all know it, and I ended up working there for a few years. But without an interview outfit, without a place for somebody to leave me a message, and without a place to leave my bag, how was I going to get a job? So I just want to share this with you. After working at this restaurant for probably about 4 to 5 years, I was sharing my story with a coworker, telling her that I had gone through Father Bill's briefly in the 90s and was still sober and X, Y, and Z. And one of the restaurant managers passed by behind me, and she said, "Oh, Jennifer, we didn't know you were at Father Bill's when we first hired you. I don't think we would have hired you if we knew that. And I looked right at her and I said, you think I don't know that? That's why I didn't tell you. So, and like I said, I ended up working there for about 4 or 5 years before I ended up going on into working in human services. So yeah, I got a job and then I saved my money. So, ever try to save money after not having money for a long time? It's really difficult. I wanted new clothes, I was smoking cigarettes, and I was getting takeout and everything else. Well, case management thankfully was there to support me and rein me in and sit me down and talk about a savings plan. I was beholden, I probably not since I was a kid to my mother showing her my savings book, was I beholden to somebody to be responsible for saving. So it really put me on a good path for saving money. And what happens when we save money? You be, all right, $10 a week, all right, $20 a week. Hey, look at how this is adding up. And then the next thing you know, I didn't need the case manager to tell me, make it $40 a week, make it $50 a week. I was doing that on my own. So it kicked up my savings. And very fortunately for me, I was able to get a market rent apartment. So then I moved out. So this is part 3. So when I moved out, I really didn't have much. So through the help of Father Bill's, I'm going to throw a name out there. Does anybody in this room remember Jim Karras? So Jim Karras was working at Father Bill's, and you can Google this, February 13th, 1994. It was a blizzard, and Jim Karras took the Father Bill's van, and he drove me over to, Fort Point Church in Quincy. And in the snowstorm got me a kitchen table and 2 chairs and a coffee maker and a TV and a couple of towels and some things to really kick me off. And in that snowstorm, he drove me to my little tiny studio in Mattapan, and I was as happy as could be. So that was my story. I went to Father Bill's, I got a job, I saved my money, and I moved out. But was it really that simple? My story, compared to other stories at Father Bill's, really, this is just a microcosm. Everybody has a different story. This was my story. Each step at Father Bill's, I just want to share with you, I was treated with dignity and respect by the staff, by the volunteers. We had some great volunteers that came in. That kindness was never forgotten, and I like to believe that I carried that kindness with me when I went on to work in my career in human services. I never, ever one day forgot where I came from in the shelter system. So today here we are at Father Bill's, and they've opened this awesome resource center. It's come a long way from the former RNV building. That's for darn sure. And I was telling some folks earlier, if you had ever been in Father Bill's, you knew you were in an old RNV building. There was just no denying that. But anyways, it's come a long way from that building, and how revolutionary is it to bring all the resources to one place? It's very revolutionary. It's very progressive. It's very visionary during a time when shelter beds were increasing, to challenge the norm and say enough. Lack of shelter beds is not the issue. Lack of affordable, appropriate housing is the issue. And it's about time somebody did something about it. And Father Bill stepped up and said, it's about time we did something about it. And that's why we're here today. Thank you.